welcome back to incredibly useful exercises for the double bass, where we condition specific aspects of our performance in short, stolen moments. Today, we'll explore shifts in great detail. Not so much the techniques of shifting, as much as the different technical and expressive options at our disposal. Understanding these options and their underlying mechanics will focus your interpretations, practice, and teaching.
I want to thank Joey Nager for his generous support of this series. Joey has been my go-to luthier for over 5 years. He sculpted my fingerboards buzz-free on both my 1850 English orchestra bass and my solo bass, making them so easy to play, and his tone work on my basses keeps them sounding full, free, and beautiful. Many professional working bassists throughout Texas rely on Joey for fixing and maintaining their treasured instruments. The Joey Nager prize-winning basses are also wonderful instruments. Please visit Joey's website listed below, and if you happen to be in the Houston area, pay him a visit to play his basses and to see how he can improve the playability and tone of your instrument.
We're exploring shifts not because we're wanting to improve our shifting or learn new techniques. There are exercises we do in other episodes that deal specifically with shifting improvement, accuracy, and bow management. But today, I just want to lay out elements of shifting that professional string players use to craft expression. Let's see what goes into a shift and how you can play around with those options to make the most efficient and interesting musical and technical decision for each situation. To start, let's watch some great examples of virtuosic and musical shifting, then break them down to see exactly what's going on. I could watch these artists all day and find new and interesting things about their interpretations. Perfect right arms, all amazing artists, each with a unique voice on the bass, not to mention good citizens in our bass community. active local and international working teachers and artists, and beautiful human beings. Which makes it seem overly superficial to focus on something so mundane as shifting, but here we are. So let's get at it. First, there are two general categories of shifts: weighted and unweighted. Weighted shifts happen with the finger into the string, keeping contact throughout the shift. Unweighted shifts happen when you shift before or after an open string or harmonic, when you remove the weight of the finger from the fingerboard. Putting them in pedagogy terms, I call weighted shifts railroad shifts, like a train staying on the track, and I call the unweighted shifts airplane shifts, leaving from one airport and landing at another. Both styles of shifting are necessary for mastery, so this isn't a competition. It's an exploration. Also, this isn't exclusively a bass thing. All bowed string instruments work with weighted and unweighted shifts. So, what's the difference? Well, there are both musical and technical considerations for both. From a musical perspective, weighted shifts offer slides or scoops between notes. The musical term for this expression is portamento. When you want to add expression to a phrase or link two notes in an interesting way, the weighted shift is the one to use. From a technical perspective, weighted shifts are necessary when open strings or harmonics aren't an option, and you shift from a fingered note to a fingered note. By the way, weighted shifts don't always have to have slides. Sometimes they just need to be played clean. Unweighted shifts, from a musical perspective, are good for making a musical line clean and unbroken, like a keyboard. Look for open strings or harmonics and shift before or after them. The result is a clean, articulated phrase which works well in slurs and especially in unaccompanied Bach when you want resonant chordal sounds instead of expressive melodies. From a technical perspective, unweighted shifts are necessary in fast-moving slurred lines or large leaps. They get rid of slides when you don't want them, and they give you some precious extra time to make that jump. Both styles of shifting are valuable depending on the context. Don't let anyone tell you that only one style is the best. You need both. All of those artists that we saw earlier, they utilize all types of shifts to make their music. The more shifting types you incorporate, the more interested your listeners will be in what you have to say. Let's start our exploration with the weighted shift. There are a lot of ingredients we get to play around with here. I can shift either in a slur or between bows, ascending or descending, and I can shift to the same finger or a different finger. Slurred or separate, up or down, same or different finger. Let's start with slurs. Here we have 4 options. Slur up, same finger. That has a classic shifting sound, not too spicy. Slur up, different finger. That's the classic sound with a little bit of pop at the end, like ending a word with a consonant. Slur down, same finger. I hear that like a sob or a cry. And then slur down, different finger. If I want a clean shift with no slides, I bury the shift by pausing the bow slightly during the shift and releasing the weight of the shifting finger. Now let's look at weighted shifts between bow changes. This introduces a new expressive element and one which I really like to play around with. Here's A and E on the G string. I have 2 new options with this combination. I can shift during the first bow, or I can shift on the second bow. If I want it clean and neutral, I can bury the shift in that dead zone between the bows. But we're going to ignore those clean shifts today and focus on the messy ones. Shift on the first note, shift on the second note. In pedagogy circles, these are known as an old bow shift and a new bow shift. Old bow is when I shift on the first bow. It's the old one. That has a classic sound, but it can be overdone if you're not careful. And a new bow shift where I shift on the second bow. And that has a romantic sound. It's spicy and it adds energy. And those are our ingredients. Let's see what they sound like. I'll play with a neutral shifting speed. You can change the emotional impact depending on the speed of the shift, but I just don't want to go that far into things right now. Once you understand these parameters, you can style them in any way you want to. So let's start with ascending old bow shift to the same finger. Ascending old bow shift to a different finger. Ascending new bow shift to the same finger. I use that one a lot. And then ascending new bow to a different finger. That sounds really close to the same as the ascending same finger shift. Descending old bow to the same finger. I'll maybe use that once or twice. Descending old bow to a new finger. Descending new bow shift to the same finger. Descending new bow shift to a different finger. And again, that sounds pretty much the same as the same finger shift. Now, those were all shifts on the same string. If I want to cross strings during a shift, there's a new consideration. It's called the old string shift or the new string shift. Also, with string crossing shifts, we always use different fingers. Using the same finger across strings is just too awkward. So now we have 4 options. Slurred ascending old string, slurred ascending new string, slurred descending old string, slurred descending new string. And now our separate bows. Our ingredients are old and new strings, old and new bows, ascending and descending. This gives us 8 options. Ascending old bow, new string. Ascending old bow, old string. Ascending new bow, new string. Ascending new bow, old string. Descending old bow, new string. Descending old bow, old string. Descending new bow, new string. And finally, descending new bow, old string. Here's a challenge for you. All of those last examples were on the notes E to E. Large shift, large interval. What would it sound like if I just switched the strings? Large shift, small interval. Try an A on the G string to a B on the D string, and now we get into all sorts of new fun effects. Try that and see what you like. Now for the unweighted shifting system. With this, there are no slides. It's only clean shifts. There are 8 ingredients, slurred and separate, which both pretty much sound the same. Ascending, descending, old finger, new finger, and open string or harmonic. Unweighted shifts allow for rhythmic flexibility and clean musical lines, so I use these a lot in Bach and rubato pieces. I can pause my bow arm during the shift or not to give my left hand more time to get into position. Ascending, opened to closed. Notice the strong left-hand articulation after the shift. That's a huge part of it. Also, for best results, start the shift as soon as your finger comes off the string. There's a famous part in the Bach Third Suite Bourrée where I use this technique to create space for a large shift. Ascending harmonic to closed. Ascending closed to harmonic. This is my most commonly used unweighted shift. In this slur, you have to pause the bow during the shift, and it helps to hit the harmonic with the thumb to get it to speak. Descending closed to open. I like to do a small left-hand pluck in this descending slur for some articulation. Descending open to closed isn't logical, so we don't use that. Descending closed to harmonic. And finally, descending harmonic to closed. The left-hand articulation helps in that slur also. And those are the shifting elements. I know it's a lot, and you can certainly play a lot of music without going this far down the rabbit hole. But our goal is to raise our standard of playing and to do everything we can to understand and repeat what our body is doing while we make an expressive gesture. This is where we put the musical icing on the cake. Now that we've explored these elements, let's watch those videos again and focus on the variety of shifting gestures they've chosen. Did you see and hear those differently than the first time? When I see the scope of their shifting vocabulary, I can appreciate their art on a deeper level. These are not capricious decisions. They're carefully thought out and crafted to make the line do exactly what they want it to do, and to keep it interesting for the listener. That is artistry. Lastly, for you teachers that use the George Vance or Suzuki books, there's an important distinction between the two methods. The early Vance books teach primarily unweighted shifts. And the early Suzuki books teach using weighted shifts, with the first one happening in Book 1 in the advanced fingering of May Song. This is important to understand if you're teaching out of these books. Nowadays, it's common and important for teachers to know how to teach out of both books so they can cover both shifting categories. When shifting is done correctly and creatively, the musical line comes alive, while the underlying technique is invisible and thrilling to watch. These gestures do not come easy and take lots and lots of training and practice. Professional and student basses usually practice shifting drills about 10 to 20 minutes per day. Use a variety of shifting techniques in combination with your imagination to give your musical lines and practice more intent, expression, and focus. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you find these shifting concepts as useful for your performance as they have been for mine. I present this in the way that I've used and benefited from it, and it's not the only way to practice or approach shifting. Adapt these ideas to your style of curiosity, conditioning, playing, or teaching. Practice this and all exercises in this series in short, stolen moments, or incorporate them into your regular conditioning routine. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and leave any questions, comments, observations, success stories, or suggestions below. Please check out the incredibly useful exercises series of workout books available in paperback and ebook on the Amazon site in your country. I look forward to you joining me next time. Thank you, and be well, friends.